Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of DoorDash in Numbers, where I am breaking down the metrics related to all this gig work so that way you can better understand your side hustle or your job or whatever you do with these apps, as well as giving tips and tricks on how to maximize your profits as well. So today I'm going to be breaking down all of the costs associated with driving for these apps. So obviously it's not like a normal job because, if you're going out there and you make $100 with DoorDash, you're going to come back and realize that you really only have $75 to spend because you have to put this much to gas and this much to taxes and all of that. So that's what we're doing, breaking it down. It is very important to know these because if you don't, then you might end up taking orders that you're actually losing money on. For example, like this. For some reason, it is popular belief that you have to take every order. That's not true. There's also a debate going on about acceptance rate and whether that matters. Personally, I don't think it does, but that's a debate for the other gig tubers, I guess. Again, understanding these numbers is really going to help you determine which orders to take. And one of the ways you'll hear this most is by people on YouTube and Reddit saying that you should take $1 per mile minimum. And I personally think that you should try to go for $2 a mile, but we'll get into that later. But the reason why that is important is because of these costs. So we're going to go ahead and start breaking them down. The first one is obviously gas. So again, it is very important that you guys know how to track your miles. It's very easy, but if you want to see the breakdown and the reasoning behind it, then go ahead and check out my last video that has a full explanation there. But once you have your miles, then you can start breaking down your cost per mile. And again, that's really important because that way when you're just taking a glance at your orders, you can know whether it's going to be worth it or not to take it. So for example, this week I drove 363 miles. So if you're looking for your cost per mile with gas, then what you're going to do is you're going to take your gas mileage and divide it against the cost per gallon in your area. So I'm going to throw up some averages and then also my numbers. So the average gas mileage people get in America is 25 miles to the gallon, and the average cost per gallon of gas was $3.39. So you calculate that out, that is 13.5 cents per mile. So that's the first one. Again, for me, it's a little different. I get 43 miles to the gallon, which is great. So my cost per mile there is only about 7.5 cents. And so that's gas. Really easy, really simple to calculate. Figure out your own miles per gallon there and plug your number in there as well, and we'll follow along. So your second cost is going to be maintenance, and this is just all around like replacing your tires, getting a new battery, oil changes, windshield wipers, fluids, all of that. It's obviously very hard to calculate this out individually, but AAA is very kind to estimate that for us, and that's just what I use. So I set aside this much per mile to save up for that, and I just set that aside so that way when I am hit with those costs, I'm not having to pull out of my checking or my savings account to cover it. But again, they say 9 cents per mile on average is going to cover those things. So driving 363 miles last week, well, on one of these weeks I did, you take that out, and that comes to $32.67. So that's part of my profits, sort of, that I'm paying myself every week, but I'm setting that aside for those costs when they arise. Some people might say to include your insurance in your operating costs, but for me, it's something that I would have paid anyways, even if I wasn't working this job. Now, if you are getting a higher premium because you are driving more, then try to do a cost analysis there and see how much that is. I don't want to do that in this video, but yeah, again, you're already paying for insurance either way, so this isn't really included in your costs. So we'll move right along to the next one, which is depreciation. So depreciation is one of those tricky things. This is a valid cost because if you weren't driving those miles, then your car wouldn't be losing that value. So it is a pretty tricky thing to calculate as well. Luckily, there's this nifty tool that does it for you. Or if you don't want to go that route, then you can just use the average, which is about 8 cents per mile. So again, driving 363 miles, that comes out to $29.04 that you need to put aside for saving up for a new car or something down the road if you plan on doing this long term. Now again, I recommend running your own numbers so you know exactly what your costs are. And so here you can see me punching in the numbers, and it actually comes out to about 7 cents per mile based on how much I drive and how much my car is worth. So I punch that in, which means I only need to set aside about $25 out of my pay to save up for that as well. All right, so number 4 is where it gets really tricky, because now we're dealing with taxes, and that's going to be variable because it's a percentage of how much you make. So if you are making $1 a mile, you're going by that rule, then you should be saving 20% of that, which is about 20 cents per mile. Now, again, I think you should be pushing for that $2 per mile, but I think the general average, again, depending on your market, if you're working in a small market like Nugs, it's just not possible. You're probably going to be getting $1.20, $1.30 a mile on a good day. So I'll kind of break the difference and for this video's purposes and go for $1.50 a mile. Assuming you're getting that, then that comes out to 30 cents per mile that you should be putting aside for taxes. So again, 363 miles, then you can just calculate that out, and that's what you get. For me, I'm actually running about $1. Well, in this week specifically, I got $1.95 per mile. So 20% of that is 39 cents per mile. So we add all this up, and our grand total costs per mile, just that's off the top, is for me 62.5 cents. And in this kind of average area, that's about 60.5 cents. So you can see where that $1 per mile rule comes in really handy. If you're taking orders like this all the time, literally $2.50, first of all, that's not even worth your time. Even if you did 5 of those in an hour, that's nothing. But not only that, you're literally losing money because you have to pay for gas. You have to set aside money. It's a business cost. If you're doing this, especially if you're doing this full time, it's not just income. You have to treat it as a business. But if you are doing this short term, then it's a little bit more flexible, especially if you have a secondary job or some other income. But that's for another video. So again, when we break all this down and we apply that, for me, 62.5 cents per mile, and I guess on average about 60.5 cents per mile, then you're driving 363 miles a week like I did, you have to set aside some money. And again, for me, that comes out to $226, a little more, and on average about $220. So that's why you really need to understand these numbers, and I can't emphasize it enough. I really recommend running your numbers so that way you can understand exactly how much it costs for you to do deliveries for people. So that is about it for this video. Again, there's going to be another video soon coming out about taxes, and we're going to do a deep dive on those with deductions. So we'll cover that in great detail, as well as our next video is going to be taking these costs against our revenue and seeing how much we profit, and then comparing that to a W-2 to see if it really was worth it, or if we should just, get another side gig or something. So yeah, look forward to that. Comment down below what you think. If you've figured out your numbers, let me know. I'm always curious. And drop a like if you enjoyed. I am, again, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, follow me if you enjoyed. Thanks. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.